This episode of Basics is sponsored by Viator, your destination for tours, things to do, day trips, and more. There's over 300,000 travel experiences to choose from simple tours to extreme adventures and cool stuff in between. There's something for everyone. Every experience has a detailed description and reviews from real travelers so that you know what to expect and can book the best trip possible. Book your experience now at the link in the description. Alright, so before we get into pasta alla vodka, I wanted to take a look at the alla vodka of it all. Namely, is this stuff doing anything for flavor? So I started simmering some until its fumes no longer burst into flames when exposed to fire, indicating that the alcohol had cooked off, so I could see what zero-proof vodka tastes like. And the best way I could describe it would be water that at some point had been in the same room as a potato. So if you cook off the alcohol, this is doing little to nothing for flavor. Some people say it's an emulsifier, which is totally unnecessary in a tomato sauce, and others say it's actually for the bite of the alcohol, which you should add at the very last minute so it doesn't cook off. So that's what I'm going to do in our first up factory standard timeless classic on the table in about 15 minutes pasta alla vodka. First, I've got a wide shallow pot of heavily salted water that I'm going to bring to the boil, set next to my very largest fry pan. About the only prep we need to do is finely dice half an average sized onion, peel a couple cloves of garlic, and that's it. We're headed back over to the stovetop where we're heating 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil in our large saute pan and starting to cook our pasta already. That's how fast this dish is going to come together. Once the oil is shimmering, we're adding the onion and cooking for 3 to 4 minutes until translucent. Then we're crushing in our 2 cloves of garlic and letting that saute for about 30 seconds or until fragrant. Then we're adding about a half teaspoon of crushed red pepper flakes and 3 ounces or a little more than a third of a cup of tomato paste. Cooking that for about 2 minutes until the tomato paste starts to darken in color. Then we're bringing down the heat a little bit and adding 3 ounces of heavy cream and 1 ounce of the titular vodka. Just stirring that together and allowing it to cook for no more than a minute so that the booze doesn't cook off. And once your pasta is about a minute shy of your preferred level of doneness, it's headed straight into the saute pan where it's going to finish cooking in the sauce. Adjust the heat as necessary so that it's not simmering like crazy, and then a quarter cup at a time we're going to start adding our reserved pasta cooking water. This is going to make the sauce smooth and glossy as we continue to cook it for no more than another minute. Then, if you be so bold and if you're wearing clothes that you don't care about, you can optionally toss your sauce to make it lighter and creamier at the expense of your kitchen's cleanliness. Now we're going to kill the heat and immediately add 1 ounce of freshly grated Parmesan. If you need a visual reference, 1 ounce equates to a roughly 1-inch square cube of cheese. Stir this stuff in, definitely off the heat, maybe give it another toss, and you can adjust the thickness of the sauce with pasta water if necessary. And that's all there is to it. 15 minutes might be too generous an amount of time. Plate it up, maybe with a little bit of extra Parmesan grated over top, and you got yourself a big old bowl of creamy, comforting, craveable goodness. There might be nothing better in the world that you can do with 10 minutes and 10 ingredients. In fact, there's not much of an argument that can be made for a more complex version. But to take this from, that's good, to a wordless, breathless table full of compulsory eye rolls and lip smacks, there are some fun ways in which we can layer and complexify the flavors. First, in a wide, shallow pan, I'm heating about a quarter cup of neutral flavored oil over medium-high until shimmering, and then adding 4 ounces of diced pancetta, which I'm going to fry until lightly browned and crisp, about 3 to 5 minutes, draining on paper towels and reserving the oil, leaving me not only with a crunchy, meaty garnish for later on, but some deeply flavored oil and fond in which I can build a sauce. In about a quarter cup of the reserved fat, I'm sauteing the same finely diced half onion, about 3 to 4 minutes until soft and translucent, crush in the same 2 cloves of garlic, and this time for heat, I'm going to use 2 teaspoons of crushed Calabrian chilies. And instead of just tomato paste, I'm going to use 3 tablespoons of sun-dried tomato paste, both of which are going to bring a wider array of flavors to the party. Let those guys get some heat for about 30 seconds, and then we're going to add 8 ounces of tomato puree. And because we want the tomato flavor to be cooked down and concentrated like that of tomato paste, we're going to simmer this for about 30 to 45 minutes until we've made our own sort of homemade, much more flavorful and complex, less harsh tomato paste. Then from there, it's pretty much business as usual. Get your pasta cooking, add your 1 ounce vodka and 3 ounces of heavy cream when it's very nearly almost done. Give it a stir and start adding your pasta. This time I went with mezzi rigatoni, so it looks fancier, I don't know. But whatever pasta you want to use, you generally want to go with something ridged so that it hangs onto the sauce. As before, we are glossifying and adjusting our sauce's consistency with pasta water. Then this time I'm adding a half ounce each of Parmesan and Pecorino Romano. Don't be afraid to continue adjusting with pasta pasta water if things get too gloopy. Plate it up, this time with our reserved crispy pancetta bits, bunch more cheese, obviously, and an optional smattering of fresh herbs, basil or parsley. And there you have it, my ultimate a la vodka sauce. Rich, creamy, and positively loaded with layers and layers of flavor. But is it worth the additional time and effort? Yeah, if you've got the time, this is a noticeable improvement over the already amazing original. But you could also utilize any part of it that you like, the pancetta, the different cheeses, the sun-dried tomato paste, a fancier pasta shape. You might say that the possibilities are endless. Sorry. Thanks again to Viator for sponsoring this episode. The pro tip is to use Viator for booking your activities on your next trip. There's something for everyone. How about a boat excursion on the Amalfi Coast in Italy? Or perhaps a brunch cruise in DC? Personally, I want to do the food tour of Austin on an electric bike. There's even experiences right here in New York that I can check out on the weekend or with friends in town. When you book with Viator, you have 24/7 service and free cancellation. Book your experience now at the link in the description.